Hello, everyone, and welcome to the first ever video on All Indie. I was gonna make a script, and I was gonna talk through it, and I think the more I thought about it, the more I'll just talk, and I'll just kind of speak what's on my mind at the moment. So, first of all, I love gaming. I've been gaming since I was 6 years old. Some of the first games I ever played were like Super Mario Bros., Duck Hunt, Sonic and Tails. I remember my next door neighbor had Sonic and Tails for the Sega and like the Super Nintendo. And with that being said, I've been gaming for 21 years. I'm old. I get it. I understand. But in those 21 years, I have found that AAA games are becoming cookie cutter. They're becoming a little stale for me. And I think what I mean by that is like, here in this past couple years, I've played Cyberpunk 2077. I've played like Warzone, Valorant, Apex, League of Legends. I've even played some of the older games like Prey and Doom and Control, and I've tried all these games. And I think something that AAA games really suffer from is that there's just not a whole lot of creativity in them anymore. Now, don't get me wrong, there are some really awesome and really cool creative major games out there. But I feel like an RPG, when it comes from a AAA, like a AAA title RPG, tends to be about 75% as the next AAA RPG. And of course, there's always going to be some outliers. But, I feel like most of the RPGs that I've played here in the recent years, they've all had like perception and dexterity and strength, and they've all had like firebolt as a spell, and teleport or telekinesis, and they've all had the same classes like rogue and ranger. And I kind of feel that way about like first person shooters. Like first person shooters, it's starting to get to a point with me that like all guns kind of shoot the same. Like maybe some recoil a little harder than the next one. But they're starting to all feel the same. They all kind of feel like they're blending together. On top of that, I don't want to play some of the competitive online games anymore, like League of Legends. I've been playing League of Legends since like 2011, 2012. I have been through so many metas. I have seen so many rage quits. It's ridiculous. And, Apex came along. If you want to go older, PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds, PUBG came along. And then there was even Valorant, which was like a tactical shooter and it's supposed to like, compete with CSGO. But I feel like the issue with most of those online games is that there's a meta to them, and there's strategies that like, if you want to win consistently and you want to be good at I'll say if you want to be average or above average at these games, you have to learn them on some level. You have to learn the meta, and you have to learn some of the strategies. And I feel like part of the issue is that you have to learn them like if you want to be anything other than casual, right? But the problem with that is I feel like most players are casuals, are trying to play it casually, or trying to play those games casually. And it's not fun. Because either they don't understand it, or somebody understands it better than them, and so they just get stomped. Or even on top of that, it's like their teammate maybe understands it better and just rages at them. And so it's like I can't play those games anymore. Like, I'm tired of being mad at people. I'm tired of like the stressful competition. And on top of that, like I said, I've been playing League forever. And so it's just not as entertaining as it used to be. So as you can tell by the title of this channel, All Indie, something I really want to do is dedicate this channel to indie games. And just maybe get some exposure for indie games. I love indie games. I think they're some of the most original, creative, interesting games that have started to kind of rise in popularity here in the past couple of years. However, one of the biggest issues with indie games is that there just isn't enough exposure with indie games. There's just not enough eyes on these really awesome products, these really awesome games. And a lot of them just go unnoticed. And I think that's a shame. I honestly think that indie games are becoming more creative than your standard AAA title. I really do. And on top of that, I just think they're more fun. I honestly just think that indie games are way more fun than like your average standard AAA game. So the reason I say that exposure is one of the biggest issues for indie games is this. So let's take Among Us is a really good example of this. Came out on June 15th of 2018. And it took the game about a year and a half to become popular. In June of 2019, they had 616 average players. The next month, they had an average of 2,106, which is a stupid big increase. Like, that in and of itself is pretty impressive for a game like Among Us. Well, then in August, it went from 2,000 to 151,380 average players. It's all because people on Twitch started to play Among Us with other Twitch streamers. And I think it started with a really popular streamer, I think is what happened. And then it sort of trickled down to other bigger streamers, and people became way more interested in it. So like I said, I think what I want to do, or what I know what I want to do with this channel is just to create a channel so that people can see more indie games that are fun, interesting, original. Some of these games are pushing the boundaries in a maybe not complex way, but a simple, in an interesting way of like what is fun. So now the big question is what exactly is going to be on this channel. First and foremost, I'd like to do reviews of some of the more recent games, and I'd also like to do blind playthroughs. I know that's not original, but it will give those games some exposure. On top of that, I think I would like to maybe change how some of these indie games are reviewed. I always thought it was a little ridiculous. Maybe not ridiculous. I always thought it was interesting. I feel like the YouTube channels that I watch, they tend to review indie games the same way that they review some of these major titles. And I always thought that was ridiculous. Like, if you're gonna look at a game, and if you look at two games side by side, like, sure, like, that makes sense. But I feel like if you're looking at an indie game and you know that it was created by two people or something, or like maybe a team of 10 people, and you're gonna review it the same way that you would review like Cyberpunk, that has had this massive team and this huge budget behind it. Like, don't you think that seems a little odd? That just seems a little off to me. So I'm hoping to maybe change up the way that some of these games are reviewed and maybe bring a little bit something original to it, something that people would want to watch instead of like, well, the frame rate for Hades is 60 FPS and it runs wonderfully on my Nvidia GTX 1070. Like, of course it does. It's an indie game. Like, it's using up half of the processing power that Cyberpunk is, you know? Like, so I think the second, and this is the biggest one, the second thing that I would like to do with this channel is that if you are an indie game developer and you've published a game, I would love to talk to you. I'd love to sit down for maybe like an hour of your time and just talk to you about your game. I myself have a little bit of experience in game development, and so I'm hoping not to ask some of the standard questions, but I just want to have a conversation about what you've created. And of course, I'd be happy to buy a copy. I want to play it, obviously, for footage, for like when we're talking. I'd love to give you notes or maybe even talk to you or like, you know, give you sort of like a bug report of anything that I find. I'm going to create a business email for this, and I'll probably go to Twitter as well to make sure that I can be reached. But this is something that I really want to do. So I would love to sit down with some of these people who have made, you know, like 10-hour games. And I would just love to talk to you about like what your inspiration was. Do you have any features that you really love, that you like feel really accomplished about? Do you have any features that you hate that needed to be in there? I would love to talk to you. Lastly, I would love to hear from you. If you're watching this video and an indie game comes to mind, let me know in the comments below, regardless of how old it is or how recent even. Just let me know. I'm not going to be able to find them all by myself. I'm not going to be able to find all the indie games by myself. So I'm hoping you guys can point me in the right direction of some that you love, and I'm hoping to sort of share that experience with you. I mean, if you've made it this far, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I don't think I'm going to tell you to like, subscribe, ring the notification bell, whatever it is. YouTube's been around long enough that if that's something you want to do, feel free. So I think for the end of this video, I think I'll just say thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. And I hope to see you in the next video.